how it's in the script, and then we'll be done. All right? All right. So I'm going to go back and just for camera purposes. The sixth objection is restate or agree and probe. You're not going to do all three. You're either going to restate and probe or agree and probe. I'll show you that technique. Keep selling, reflect, field found method, ask prospect for best solution. If I could, would you? So the restate or agree and probe. You can find the real issue by restating or agreeing and probing, but you're not going to do all three. So if the prospect says, I have no money, you could restate that by saying what you're saying is that if it were cost effective and profitable to you, this would be something that you would consider. Is that correct? If money was an issue. Oh, I have no time. So what you're saying is if you had some additional time to get this information, you would allow me the opportunity to validate this further. Is that correct? If time is an issue, he's going to say yes. Then you're going to call back. If time is an issue, now's not the time to do it, then you're going to set up a callback. I'm trying to think of another objection that would fit in there, but I'm too pressed for time right now. Objection. This is the agree example instead of restate example. Send me information. I would be happy to. That's called the agree. And then you're going to probe. And so the probing looks like this. So this is how it works. You're going to have an objection. Then you're going to restate or agree with the objection. You're going to probe to get some additional information. You might only need to probe one time or two times until you get the real issue out. So, and I'll give you an example of this whole flow chart in just a sec. Then you overcome the objection with features and benefits. You get a reaction. If it's positive, you close. If it's negative, you go back and probe again, or you use a different objection technique. So, if the objection is, throw out an objection to me that you would give for EMI. What? I'm not interested. So I wouldn't use the restate technique for that. I would use the agree because it would sound funny. So what you're saying is if you were interested, you would consider it. Is that correct? Obviously, that doesn't make any sense. So we wouldn't use a restate. So we would use the agree and probe. I appreciate you letting me know that. What are some of your concerns? Tell me. Here. Let's role play. That's okay. Don't be shy. I appreciate you letting me know. You said I'm not interested. I appreciate you letting me know that. What are some of your concerns?
Right now, I have a current merchant account.
Okay, other than having a current merchant account, what other concerns do you have?
I have the lowest rate, and that's 0.1%.
Okay, so if I understand you, now I'm going to use a restate technique. So if I understand you correctly, that rate is important to you, and if you can get a better rate and you can save money, this would be something that would be important to you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so now I know what the real issue is you can turn that off now. Now what I know what the real issue is that he's got a really good rate, but it doesn't mean that it's the best rate possible because I don't know what his per transaction rate is, and I don't know the other hidden fees. So what would be important, you have one of two things that you could do, guys. If you're lazy and not that motivated, then you can just do the challenge offer, and that is in your rebuttals where it says like a catch-all of all else fails, use this. You can use that and just say what our rates are and let them know that there's hidden fees in there with other companies. If we can save you 20% or more on your merchant fee and guarantee that 20% or more savings, would you allow us an opportunity to at least process only for 30 days just to validate the amount of savings you're entitled to through us as opposed to your current merchant? And we're not gonna, and you don't have to sign a contract with us. We're strictly on a month-to-month basis, and you don't have to leave your current merchant processor. Would you be open to that? Okay, so so that's how, pardon me?
I'm lazy, I don't want to do that.
No, that's the lazy one. That's the lazy approach. The one that I was telling you that's not the lazy approach is get their bank statement out and let's now compare apples to apples and find out what they're really paying. But if you don't have time and you don't have the initiative to do that, then you would do that one I just did. Because that only took less than 30 seconds to do. The other one's gonna take a little longer because you need them to get their bank statement out to go over item for item. I don't recommend that if you don't know if you don't know the campaign that well. I wouldn't recommend getting your bank statement out because you may not, unless you really know what you're doing and know how to compare apples to apples with them. It's better to do the shortcut way. The keep selling technique, basically you're going to make them accountable for a get reaction step that we said when I said so far what I've shared with you, is this something that would be important to you? And if he says yes to that, but then later he says I'm not interested, then I go back and remind him of what he said yes to. So this is an example here. I understand, Mr. Jones, we talked about many benefits earlier. You like the fact that we are on a month-to-month basis and that there's no contracts to sign. You also like the fact that we guarantee you a minimum of 20% savings on your current merchant processing fees above what you're, compared to what you're paying right now. One of the things that we really haven't talked about very much is the $300 we're going to give you just to give it a try. Now, we would like you to process with us just for 30 days. Don't even switch your, don't even turn off your terminal with your other provider. Don't even cancel them out. Just process with us for 30 days and compare the difference. If we're unable to save you any money, at least 20% or greater, we don't deserve the right to have your continued business. Does that sound fair enough? Okay, so that would be a keep selling technique. I'm sorry I'm going through this fast. I really apologize. I wish I could stay for 8 hours with you guys. Reflect technique is similar to the keep selling, but now we're making them accountable to the probing questions we ask in step 5. So in the probe steps. So for example, we talked about many issues. You mentioned the fact that you're paying only 0.4%, and that you're happy with your current processing rate. But what we haven't talked about very much is what your transaction rate is and some of the other fees that they're charging you, and whether or not you have to have a minimum amount of sales to meet in order to get that rate. And then at this, say, if we can save you at least 20% of what you're paying right now, because that is a good rate, but it's not the best rate of what we can offer. Because if we could save you an additional 20% than what you're getting right now, would you be open to allow me to validate this further?
What if the manager
But use this here, use this, so they can all hear.
Or what if the boss asked, aside from, you said that we will guarantee almost up to 20%. And since the rate is 0.4 and our rate is 0.5.
But we haven't talked about, what I said here, we haven't talked about your transaction rate, because they're getting a low rate as far as percentage of their processing fee, but we haven't talked about the transaction fee. We haven't talked about the other fees that the bank is charging to process with them. When we look at those other fees, chances are we're going to save you at least 20% or greater. If we're unable to save you, here's my question, guys, is this a catch-all phrase? If we're unable to save you at least 20% on your merchant processing fees, we don't deserve to have your business. Does that sound reasonable to you?
Alright, yes.
Okay, so all I'm asking for us is to compare. We would like to process for just 30 days and just keep your processor. We're not asking you to leave your processor, but we're going to send you a terminal at no cost. It's no cost to you, a free terminal. You're going to keep the terminal you have, but we're going to send you a new terminal. You're just going to process with us for 30 days so we can show you how much of a savings you're going to get processing through us. If we can't save you at least 20% or greater on your processing fees, then we don't deserve the right to have your continued business, and you may stop with us and continue with your current processor. Does that sound fair enough?
Let's say I'm in contract for 2 years.
You're already in a contract for 2 years? Keep that up. How many more months? No, keep it on. How many more? I want to role play with you. They need to hear you. How many more months do you have left on your contract?
Let's say I have 6 months remaining.
Okay, and what I can do is I can transfer you over. See, this is where you might need to transfer them over to EMI rep. what I can do is, earlier I mentioned we're gonna offer $300 to process with us,
For 30 days, yes.
right? You can pay off, if there's any cancellation fees, you can pay the cancellation fees with that 300, but oftentimes you can waive your cancellation fees with your current provider, and our provider will help you with that. Would you allow us an opportunity to see if we can try?
Yes, for 30 days. And I'll just try to compare it.
Okay, so what we're gonna do, this is, you gotta clarify, guys, just because he said that, I wanna make sure he understands me correctly. So what we're gonna do is, even though you've got a remaining contract for six months, but we're gonna go ahead and let you process for 30 days, see how much of a savings that we can offer you. And chances are the savings and the $300 that we're gonna offer you outweigh what your 6 months remaining contract is. And chances are we might be able to help you get out of that contract. And that's something that you're willing to allow us to do, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, of course that would be yes, because that's what you just told me. Do you see how that worked? So you gotta clarify, make sure he understood you correct, that he understood you. So even though you have a 6 month contract remaining, because what if I can save him 20%, let's say? How much do you process per month? And he says 10,000. I just like to use that figure just because it's easy for mathematical purposes. He says 10,000. So 10,000, 20% savings is $2,000 a month savings. Do you think it's worth it for him to get out of his contract early? Chances are it's a big old fat yes. So I want him to process with us for 30 days. Let's compare the difference. And if we're not going to save you that kind of money to make it worth your while to get out of your 6 month remaining contract, then you can continue with your current processor. But my people, my client is going to work towards trying to beat that rate and trying to pay off the cancellation fee that might be there. That's what you don't know, and I don't want you to necessarily say that all the time, but they will work with them and try to see if they can pay off that cancellation with the $300, and maybe even more so. If it's worth it to my client, they might pay the whole thing off. Just let my client worry about that, okay? Yes.
If we pass through the EMI sales rep, will we still get a credit?
Yes, you will, if you made the attempt to try all your efforts. What we don't want you to do is never ask for the Social Security number, never ask for the banking information, and then you give it to my client to do it for you, or you didn't really sell. See how I clarified with him? I'm not going to transfer him to anyone yet until I clarify he understands me 100% first. As long as you did that, then my client doesn't matter if you send it over to them, because they don't have to resell it. If they have to turn around and sell this thing all over again, you know, you're not gonna, the client's not gonna be happy, because why are they paying you if you're not selling it, right? So you've got to clarify, and don't be afraid to clarify. The feel without found, I don't like using this the way it normally is used. Usually they say, I understand how you feel. Others have felt the same way until they found out that. That's just used car salesman technique. So instead, we're going to use an empathy statement, such as, I respect what you're saying. I appreciate your concerns. Thank you for letting me know that. So instead of the feel, you use an empathy statement. Then you're going to, the felt, you're going to relate to it. You know, many people I speak with have shared some of the same concerns that you have, or, you know, it's not uncommon today, or I know that rate is important to you. It says price here, but here we're talking rates. And then the found is offering a solution until they discovered, until they had an opportunity. Until they had an opportunity to allow us to process with them for 30 days, they were able to see a significant savings in their merchant processing fees that warranted them to no longer process with their current merchant, to process with us. That's how you use a field found. The next one is the ask prospect for best solution. Only time I use this is if I've done everything and I'm still not getting anywhere. Then I just say, what do I need to do to be able to validate what we can do for you and show you the amount of savings you're entitled to? He'll say, well, I don't know. I mean, what kind of rate can you give me? You know, I don't know what he's gonna say, but I'm just basically putting it in his shoes now. I'm asking him to tell me how to sell him. What do I need to do to validate to you that we're gonna give you a guaranteed minimum 20% savings, or we don't earn the right to have your business? What can I do to convey that or validate that to you? Or what additional information do you need from me to help you decide whether you can allow us to process your merchant account for 30 days so you can see the kind of savings? If you know how much they're processing every month, don't you think that information is really key for you? Because if they're processing, some of these guys are processing $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a month. If you know they're processing $10,000 a month, that's a $2,000 a month savings. How important is that to you if you can save $2,000 a month? Now, I wouldn't be able to say that unless I knew what he was processing every month. So that's important for you to get that information.
Is that the processing fee you're saying, or is that the revenue?
No, that's how much he's processing in credit cards every month. So if he's processing $10,000 a month in credit cards and I guarantee him a 20% savings, that's $2,000 a month savings that he could put back into his profit margin. That's a significant savings. And some of these guys are spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month. You know, if they're only spending $20 a month, they're not even in business. Who has a business that only brings in $20 a month? I mean, most cases they're bringing in thousands of dollars every month. So it's good for you to know that information. If I could, would you, we would never say, if I could show you a way to save you money, would you be interested? We never, 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 never say, would you be interested?